Behold, the Volunteer State, your new source of all things talent fee. Following the rather heinous dud of a season we had to endure this time, all has been loud on the country front. Then again, there's never a quiet time in the Tennessee fandom because somebody in this fan base is always losing their marbles about something. Look at what's happening over with the Lady Vols. They just got dragged up and down the court by a sub-500 Texas A&M team with as many conference wins as the Tennessee football team. Kim Codwell's respect from Vol Nation following last year's UConn win is going like a hard turd and being flushed down the toilet. The once proudest program in the state is now turning into a complete shit show before our very eyes. Very telling that this is less of an enigma and more of the status quo. All Tennessee sports must make embarrassments of themselves. The men's basketball team shivers in their boots off the sheer mention of the word Kentucky, and the baseball team is early enough to set up fan expectation of another title, even though said title went to the San Francisco Giants. Pretty obvious to account since they felt like getting railed by Kent State in the series. All these transgressions within the Volunteer Sports realm would receive lighter judgment had it been for two things. One, an athletic director who didn't needlessly constantly promote Tennessee as an everything school without any hardware to show for it, or B, a football team that we could respect to some degree. However, what we got instead was the iron skill of mediocrity. Going from the college football playoffs to being in a third-rate bowl game is hard for any fan base to endure, especially when you consider that this one in particular is as impatient as rabid wolves who haven't eaten anything but berries since 1998. But this was made all the more brutal when said third-rate bowl game was the one Tennessee fans fear like the bubonic plague. The Music City Bowl. And like the football gods write up every time we make it here, it ends in pain and more pain, getting beat by the 7th best school from the Big Ten. But the loss only added a gallon of gas to a dumpster fire spanning the size of the Tennessee River. Compared to the ceiling, Tennessee was everything but a success this year. Josh Heupel has been waiting desperately for his marquee win, but I don't know if he's ever gonna get it. We're past year 5 of the Heupel era, and yet we're still at the stage where media outlets and administration are making excuses for their failures and mentioning the previous decade of dysfunction as a way to excuse getting blown out by our rivals. It's a young team! They're close! Tennessee is never beating the perpetual state of rebuilding allegations. It's football purgatory with the shittiest alcohol the only option to chug it down with. Just admit that you did the super suck! Sub 500 in conference play, 1-3 at home against conference teams, losing record to rivals, and you want to take a big guess at how many FBS teams they beat with a winning record this year? 0! A big, fat donut! 3 of those wins came against teams who fired their coach. Our 4 SEC wins went a combined 5-27 in SEC play. Our strength of record had less nutrients than George McIntyre's meal plan. Sure, it could have been worse, but that's half the problem right there. Playing down to lower competition, but only rarely ever playing up to higher competition. Only to lose due to horrific game management. We'll spin around in a circle and shove a rock up my ass. The endless cycle continues. What could have possibly led to another catastrophic collapse this time? I'm glad you didn't ask. While the season did well to dispel the narrative around Heupel's mismanagement of gameplay on the road, it confirms a much bigger issue, Heupel's mismanagement of gameplay in general. Here's the crossroad Tennessee fans have sat in for a year and a half now. It's like the game of American politics. You're either all in on the coach and his entire staff and everything is sunshine, rainbows, and unicorn droplets, or you hate the coaches, hate the team, hate yourself, and the world is going to blow up tomorrow. You're not allowed to be in the gray area until some outlet here on the internet allows you to be. Congratulations! You're in the one place where you're allowed to be in the central zone. Nobody will ever take away what Heupel has done in the time he's been here. He was given a graveyard of a team going into his first year, and turned the program right side up into something relevant for something beyond a metaphor for something coming out of the back end. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he has made a fair share of mistakes along the way. He's clearing old ones while inventing new ways to embarrass the team. As this season's concerned, Heupel absolutely made the right move when he dropped Nico Amadolivia during the offseason. Excluding what became a Joey Aguilar and the fact he was an upgrade anyway, he refused to bend the knee to a hyper self-centered family and taught Nico a valuable lesson along the way. He made the right move there and it showed in fair success. If only he made that same decision when it came to Boo Carter. Not only could he not cover a twin-size bed with king-size sheets, but exactly like the Nico fiasco, there was a clear behavior problem. Missing team practices, pissing off other teammates, and letting Mama Boo endlessly talk shit about the program he was currently attending. He outright vanished like Luke Skywalker during the final stretch of the regular season, seemingly listening to Mama Boo and going where culture is at its very worst. Colorado. 4-8 never looked so strong. Mike Matthews was another bad decision by Heupel. He threatened to enter the portal if he didn't get more NIL money, and this time, Heupel caved, just for him to become the Dixieland Kadarius Toney. These problems, however, pale in comparison to the terminal IBS that was supposed to be his clock management. For an unknown reason, over the offseason, Heupel's brain in critical times would turn into mush and be replaced by a group of cymbal-playing monkeys. Horrifically handled timeouts, dare I say, on the level of something you'd see out of Mario Crystal Balls. Running the ball with minimal time left before the half, icing your offense and special teams multiple times on pivotal downs, or, in many cases, outright refusal to use timeouts. This ain't a fucking Mouska tool, Heupel. You don't carry the timeouts as a surprise tool for later use. Such management led to some of the worst moments of the season. Through the missed field goal against Georgia by icing your own kicker, don't worry, we'll talk about that more soon. Going into overtime against Mississippi State despite having 2 timeouts and over a minute left to do something. And of course, running the ball for absolutely no reason at the goal line with 1 timeout to burn, and basically telling Alabama what you're going to do on the very next play.
And it's a play action pass, and it's intercepted! Sabian Brown with 1 man who can catch him.
You guys have officially made me lose my marbles!
How gracious of you. Merry thanks Halloween or whatever the shit. Tennessee fans weren't mad about the losses themselves for the most part, yet losing to Vandy was the exception there, as losing to the Nashville Commodores is horrendous in any given situation. But rather, Vol fans are mad about how you lost these games, plus the added factor of the coaches looking like they didn't give 2 rats' asses about football on any given Saturday. The fury and power that possessed this program the first 2 years of the Heupel era suddenly vanished every time we had to play a team from our own conference. I don't see a mutual benefit when you're getting a $9 million annual salary and we're getting The fan base in bulk was going like zombies after the initial bite and slowly turning against Heupel following the Music Shitty Bowl. He wasn't getting any transfers in, while he was in Ty Simpson's hometown seemingly grasping for any 3-star he could get his hands on. Thankfully, this disaster of a Porter era was a facade because it quickly garnered a sub-top 10 recruiting class. It's one of the highest we've had in a very long time. With that and the additions through the Chaos Portal, he quickly subdued the fanbase for approximately 4 months, give or take. It all depends on the spring game. Although that comment about not taking the Penn State job because he likes high expectations sounds like he's just asking for it. Feels safe to talk about this now that he's officially moving on from college. The NCAA predictably did to us what they couldn't with Trinidad and Tobago and outright refused to give him any leeway in coming back. Unfortunately, Tennessee did not have a home-cooked judge who cries about tonsillitis. The tonsillitis. Nonetheless, I feel it's fair to say that pretty much every Tennessee fan should be thanking Aguilar for taking Heupel's offer and accepting the trade between him and Nico. The payoff goes without saying. He was a strong, aggressive, consistent passer who led the different leagues conference in total passing yards. Just as Penn State fans and Ohio State fans are doing to our fan base now, opposing fan bases like Appalachian State were quick to tell us how turnover prone he was, and basically telling us he was terrible. And while he wasn't perfect, the trade-off was worth 10 interceptions in a season. Plus, Aguilar had an arsenal of receivers, some of which used their hands for more than digging for dingleberries. Chris Brazzell was elite, and sometimes single-handedly carried the passing game on his back. Braylon Staley and Ethan Davis made clutch plays when need be, Miles Kitzelman was there, and Rodarius Jackson is still unfortunately stuck in the back rooms to this day. Nobody has seen any sight of him. The one obvious lone struggle for this rendition of the Heupel offense, while improved, was the backdrop the run game took in many given situations. We had 3 different running backs get consistent time in the field, and none of which unfortunately wound up being another Dylan Sampson. Deshaun Bishop hit 1,000 yards rushing, but lacked the man ball adversity needed to bail Tennessee out of their own defensive struggles. They averaged the fewest rushing yards per game in Coach Heupel's tenure. Henceforth, why having Aguilar around was truly a blessing. Could have resulted in a season so bad that every Walmart in sight could have been in imminent danger. While Aguilar's time here was short, he brought back the strong offense us Vol fans have been missing for quite some time, and we'll be forever thankful of that. Shame to say most other parts of this team didn't follow suit. Funny you've lasted this long. I forgot you were even here if I'm being honest. Chop it up to Aguilar's success, but after the dud that was supposed to be the 2024 offense, you've certainly recovered off of that. 3rd year as the offensive coordinator, and this is the first time you've created an offense that's useful for more than playing against 10th place in the ACC. 4th in the nation in total yardage, 491 yards per game, 3rd highest scoring offense in school history, and the highest in the SEC. The tempo offense, after years of development, finally came back to its former self and turned into a legitimate threat in the conference again. So much so that he got a contract extension through at least the next 2 seasons. You know it's an improvement when we're only throwing 5 to 6 bubble screens on average per game. Here's the lingering problem when it comes to the Hazel system, though, that seemingly reared its ugly head several times during the season. Josh Heupel is actually the primary play caller for the Vols. While Halsley does organize the plays and make the game plan, Heupel's the one that gives the green light to a majority of the in-game decisions regarding the offense, which means that on top of managing the game, Heupel is calling the plays for the offense, which means that during 2-minute drills, we are as useful to society as a Reddit mod. It's likely the main culprit as to how Heupel's clock management suddenly devolved to Les Miles levels overnight, plus over-conservativeness in the most pivotal moments of the game, which led to several comebacks against conference opponents. Run up the middle, bubble screen, punt! Run up the middle, bubble screen, punt! How did they come back and win it? Rocky flop! I'm gonna run a design dump off to a third-string tight end who can't catch on a 4th and 1 to lose! Rocky flop! Perhaps this overly conservative ball would receive less criticism if it were for the main overwhelming failure of the 2025 season. I knew when Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson took season-ending injuries that all our hopes and dreams were cooked. Tennessee fans had high hopes for this guy since he produced what looked to be a nationally rated defense in 23 and 24, but those numbers were inflated by James Pierce Jr., so inflated you find it on DeviantArt. 87th in total defense nationally, and the most rushing yards given up in the Heupel era, plus some of the worst pee-wee tackling ever seen in the sport. Instead of tackling the runner, like every other team knows how to do, Tennessee spent all offseason learning a technique called scooping, where you go for the legs and pray that it might be enough for the runner to trip and fall. It was a technique that worked in between not a million years and fucking never. It popped more blood vessels on average than Tennessee made tackles per game. Squidtard, it feels like 98 missed tackles! Stats like that only scratch the surface of the future embarrassment Tim Banks produced this season. 30-plus points allowed in all but one of their conference games. 115 in pass defense, letting a freshman quarterback put up a school record for most touchdowns scored in a single game. At Kentucky! Such a defense led to Tennessee fans waking up in a cold sweat, shitting themselves every time they heard the phrase, "It's third down."
Angeli over the middle. Cook pulls it in. First blitz coming. Angeli slant beats it in stride.
McNamara, deep shot, 3rd and 10, it's caught, middle of the field, Ephraim.
Ball coming. Ball quickly to the perimeter. Branch has a crease. Zach Branch in a butt race. Ball went right up the middle. They got him. Again, pressure right in his face. You're right. The ball gets out, showing pressure, but don't bring it. Ball is quickly to Bell on the perimeter, who cuts back inside.
Or just 1 for 5 on 3rd. This is 3rd and 15. Kitna presses it down there. That's a first. Kitna first down inside the 20. Hawkins.
Shapen throws, quick slant, hits 3 and 4. Shapen steps up, fires, has a man rush. Green fires, pass caught, and pass is caught. Green flushed out of trouble, trying to run for it. Flag comes out.
Deep and talented receiver group. This is Jeremy Bernard.
They bring an extra man. Bobby out to the perimeter and a catch. Instead, they go with an end around again. Junior Sherrill has room and he's got a first down. Bobby looking for it. Everybody's covered. Now he's directing traffic and will ad lib. Bobby has time. And he stays.
Honestly, I could have just played that video and it would have told the whole story. Perish out of my program already. Tough decision, my ass. You should be happy that we have a defense again. Say what you will about what comes afterwards, the next guy to come here has a brain somewhere on top and not on the bottom, so I have hopes that it'll be much improved regardless. You saw the offensive failures and the defensive failures, but what if I told you it was even worse somewhere else? You can't believe it, but it's certainly true. Just take a look at the kicking game. I present to you, Guangdong Gilbert.
Drives it. It's fading. And he missed it wide to the right.
Kick is on the way, and he has pulled it.
Here's Gilbert from 37, and they come up empty. He missed it. Hooked it wide. And he just missed it back.
Wind is indoor. And a chip shot hung up, but went wide.
Not gonna lie, getting a kicker who looks constipated permanently probably wasn't the best idea after all. Well, at least that's Arkansas's problem now. Transitioning into the current year, it was obvious that the Vols needed to make some big moves if they wanted to be more than a joke again. Firstly comes the Big Orange migration in the form of the Chaos Portal. Jamal Wallace, gone. Marcus Gorey Jr., gone. Kellen Lindstrom, gone. Jordan Ross, Kiffin Moneybag. Caleb Beasley, Louisville Pipeline. Max Gilbert, that's all he needed to say. Jack Van Dorsleer dropped on 4th down. Most others joined these players in a total of 28 players who got out. Now begins the entries for what I would call the Tennessee Shitney Lions. Firstly, the newest arsenal to control the defense, Jim Knowles. Yes, as previously mentioned, Penn State fans have already told me that he's the worst coach to ever coach in the history of coaching next to Jerry Sandusky. Ignoring that, Knowles brought in a pipeline of players starting with Chaz Coleman, the top transfer addition in the portal cycle, Amari Campbell, Xavier Gilliam, Dijon Lane, and then many other additions from other schools. TJ and Tevis Metcalf from Michigan, Isaiah Harge and Ryan Staub from Colorado, who we got by trading Boo Carter. Well worth it. Kayan Lee from the Barn, Quay Moss from Kansas State, Cooper Ranvier from Louisville, who missed a clutch field goal against Clemson, so he fits right in. Roughly 20 new players join the roster, most of which will be day one starters. On top of that, new assistants are added to the roster. Anthony Poindexter and Andrew Jackson join Knowles from Penn State, and Derek Jones from Virginia Texans Willie Martinez is busy at the piss wall every Saturday, as well as National Strength and Conditioning coach and Derek Owings. All these new additions will come in handy when we face an all-new adversity in the revised SEC schedule and now 9 conference games, with the added addition of no longer having to play Georgia. Now that Aguilar is fully out of the equation, Heupel's future lingers on the quarterback battle between 2 freshmen and a Colorado backup. I sure do like our odds! We'll likely know everything we need to when we take on Fernando Mendoza's brother and Bobby Dodd next season. Remember to hold your team's good memories close, because one misstep could force you to hire Tim Banks. The Auburn Paper Tigers are going to find out all about that soon. So see you next time, and power to Tardaria!
Well,
Throw downfield. Might be short though. No, it's actually overthrown. Dadgummit! It's another freaking PI! They go straight for the legs every time and they just jump on over him because you don't go for the legs when you're trying to tackle somebody. And of course, another holding on Tennessee. Another holding. Oh great, there's more. There's not just 1 but 2 penalties on Tennessee. Woo! Still pushing, and then the ball pops out at the end there. Still popped out, rolls, still rolling. The ball is rolling back all the way to the 30. The ball goes out again. It is recovered by Tennessee. What was that? What was that? What? What are we? Outlaw the freaking bubble screen. It is such a useless ass play. It never works. Stop doing it. Breaks a tackle because they went for the freaking legs again. And they keep going for the legs. Stop going for the legs! Why are you clapping, Heupel? What Woo! Woo! We're losing to Mississippi State. Woo! Why do you not just use the timeout? You have to! Here's Shapen, back to pass, looking for a man down the field, time to throw, gets it off. It is deflected. It is incomplete. Ladies and gentlemen, somehow, some way, in the most bullshit way possible, guess what pulled through in the end? The talent feed! It's going to be Aguilar, throws, it's intercepted. Running back to the 30, the 40. Bama takes it all the way back for a fucking pick 6. You have got to be shitting out of my entire ass. It's actually some trickery. We had him back there, breaks a tackle, they scoop the legs, they scoop the legs, they scoop the legs again, and they do it again. They do it again, they do it again, they do it again. They did it 12 times. Are you serious? We're cooked. Congratulations, Oklahoma. We're cooked. Good job. Block Casper. At least he didn't get to the quarterback. Do they pay the defense minimum wage in NIL? No. And the first part of that's wrong too, because we pay him! It's going to be Bishop. He's got the first down. He goes into field goal range. He's in field goal range. We are officially in field goal range with 42 seconds left to go on the clock. Did we fall? We false start. Oh my goodness. A false start penalty on a QB draw. We're trying to blow it. Like, you guys are watching it in real time. You're watching it with me. You're seeing it in real time. We're trying to blow it. Here it is, the kick. It is up. He missed it.